Hey everybody, welcome to PC Perspective. I'm Ryan Shrout, joined this time by Sebastian Peak. Welcome back to the office. It's glad to have you. We are standing here at this case, this enormous case that we put on a little spindle here for us. This is the Antec Signature S10, and it's interesting because this is kind of Antec's first kind of high-end I'm using that word, signature, this kind of high-end flagship chassis that they haven't really had one in a while. So give me a little overview of what kind of are the highlights and features of this case.
Okay, well, as you can see, it's big. It's a full tower design. It's about 2 feet tall by about 2 feet deep. Very nice, kind of understated look. They're using a lot of aluminum here.
Yeah.
The doors are 4mm thick aluminum, so that'll help with sound.
And top is plastic.
Top is
Sides
plastic.
are aluminum. The bottom is plastic. You can see down here there's a little bit of like a pedestal to it. I think I like the way that looks. Especially
kind of like a TV stand. It gives it a nice kind of solid appearance.
Nothing on the face of this case. Completely, like, you get this aluminum. Actually, I guess this is plastic on the front.
The top and front are plastic panels.
But it's very clean. No 5 1/4 inch bays. The only 5 1/4 inch bay we actually even have is up top, but it's not for an optical drive.
No, it's very shallow, so you could use it for a controller for your fans or some other accessory that uses a bay of this width, but unfortunately, you know, it's not really deep enough to put an optical drive in.
The rest of the stuff up top here, we have 4 USB 3.0 ports. You have your audio connections and a very small, kind of understated power button, I'll say. And then the top part is kind of perforated.
Right.
Because this is where airflow actually starts coming in, interestingly.
Yes.
Right.
Yep, it's kind of interesting because this is a dual chamber design. So you have 2 almost completely separate computer enclosures here.
If you turn it this way, you can actually see the division in the middle there.
They're connected by a small channel underneath, but basically they're separate. And for this side, you have storage. Right. So you have toolless drive bays. You have space for up to 6 3.5 inch hard drives, along with 3 SSDs, 1 in each of those 3 chambers. And then this has a fan, 120mm fan. It's actually directed down. So it pulls air in from the top through the perforations, down across your drives, and then out the bottom. There is a filter along the top, too, to keep everything kind of clean and dust-free on the inside. And there are filters everywhere that there are intakes in this case.
Now, these doors, we started opening up this one. It's actually kind of a double door design on each side. If we pop this other one open, they're magnetized, first of all. There's not any clips. There's not screws that are holding them in place.
Right. There's a magnet strip running along the inside of each of the doors. Right. So it closes nice and smooth.
So on the inside here, we're looking at what we've put inside is basically a full system build. Right. With a Gigabyte X99 motherboard. We've got a, I'll have to hold these doors open for this, as well as an AMD Fury X graphics card. What else we have in there? A 1500 watt power supply, of course.
Right. A big power supply, and I'll point out that I'm stretching the limits of what this case can support, just like most cases. This is a worst case scenario for how deep the PSU is, and it still fit. But I'm sure they'll recommend that if you're using a PSU of this size, not to use a modular one, because the modular connectors add about 1 inch of depth, but it still works, so it's okay.
Gotcha.
And these doors actually come right off, so I'll get this one out of our way here.
Yeah.
They just lift right off, and they're on these little plastic pegs, so they don't bind at all when they're opening and closing.
Now, if we rotate around to the back side here, you'll see very standard kind of collection of outputs here. You've got your your motherboard connections here. Here's where you have either your CPU, like 120mm fan mounts, essentially. Here we have our Fury X cooler installed there. Plenty of room for multi-GPU configurations. You can go down to 4-way SLI and Crossfire. I see that there's room below the motherboard there, and obviously your power supply as well. Now, if we look at the back side of this, which will open up here, flip that open. What stands out along the back? You've got a huge cutout here for CPU installation. There's a fan, what would we call that? Not a fan controller, but a fan hub.
Yeah, fan hub. It's a power fan hub.
So you put 1 4-pin Molex into it. Looks like you get support for 10 3-pin fans on it, which is pretty nice.
No way to control the speed, but obviously if you're using fans that have their own speed controller, or fans like the Noctuo fans that have like the low noise adapters, that won't be an issue.
What stands out along the back here in terms of the installation process? I know we ran into a couple of hiccups with that.
I guess the only note I would have is that it's very shallow. So you're not dealing with, this case is only about 9.5 inches wide at its widest point. And to give adequate room for GPUs on the other side, we're dealing with only about an inch or so of space behind the back of the motherboard tray. So ribbon style cables like this help a lot. This ridge right here is a nice guide. You cannot go any farther than the edge of this ridge or the door won't close.
Right.
So if you can keep all your cables to about 1 inch depth, you won't have an issue at all. Thicker cables, you're obviously gonna see some installation issues.
And this 8-pin ATX power connection has always been a headache for people building systems. And in this case, because it is a full tower ATX case, you're actually more likely to run into that. We actually had to run that power connection up through the middle or the inside of the chassis rather than and then take it around the back the rest of the way, as opposed to going completely out.
Which
around
in
the
some
back.
cases might be more of an issue. This has an opening here with a nice soft grommet, like all of these openings. So it wasn't really too bad. It's kind of just nestling right here next to the GPU power. So,
I mean, what's your kind of take on just the build quality of the chassis in and of itself? I mean, just in the time that you've had it here since we've been preparing to do the video, I actually like it a lot. It seems to be a pretty high quality, well built piece of hardware.
I haven't had any issues whatsoever with build quality. It seems rock solid. It's very stable. I like the look of it a lot. It's not so, it's a solid color, but it's not really the monolithic because it has some interest. There's some subtle curves to it, and the finish of the doors, the panels is interesting. It's like a deep kind of brushed finish. It looks really nice. And the panels, obviously, as you can see, are quite thick at 4 millimeters of solid aluminum. So it does have it has a great look, and it goes together well. There are nice touches. Like even back here, you've got rubber bumpers for the doors so they don't open too far. It gives it a nice kind of soft feel when you open and close the doors.
Doesn't have to worry about the hinge going around and scratching up this side of the case.
I reviewed another case recently where the doors literally went all the way around and hit each other in the back because they were hinged
Not
doors.
ideal.
So this is nice. It was like, oh, I open it and it kind of stops. So, and touches like where the PSU is mounted, it's this foam material where the PSU sits nice and high.
Right.
So you have
lots of room for the fan or air intake or exhaust in this case.
Yep. And you've got fan screens everywhere that you have an intake.
You've got one there on the power supply. We've got an interesting one. Where is it? In the middle here, right?
Yep. If you pop the plastic thing down in the bottom.
So you get this whole piece is a filter because these fans are actually intake.
Yes.
Right. So that's another nice touch. And actually, I think there's a third one.
Yes.
Right here above the hard drives that comes out so that the fan that is blowing air straight down onto hard drives gets filtered as well. So a lot of nice touches there. They slide in and out easy, so they're easy to clean. Another thing I want to point out, you really liked this hard drive cage, this kind of toolless hard drive mount. If I look at which one has here, it opens really nicely. It has a kind of a soft plastic rubberized feel to it, so you don't have to worry about, like, it's completely toolless, right? For
everything's toolless. You put the hard drives into the sort of toolless soft plastic trays. Those slide in and they're held in place on the top and bottom by kind of a ridged rubber material, which not only keeps them secure in there, but it will eliminate vibration.
That's nice.
You do have other storage options available. There's another set of storage bays for just 2.5-inch drives here in the front. Those just slide in and then lock in place. So,
and those are really close, so you don't have to worry about
those are right under the motherboard. So either way, you can be up and running, but you will need longer SATA cables to take full advantage of this dual chamber design.
So this case is actually shipping and available today.
It is.
As we record this. What was the MSRP that Antec told you when
it is $499.
$499.
Yes.
So it's a $500.
$500 computer case.
That's really, really steep. We've already seen it selling for a little bit less than that.
Yep, you can find it for around $450.
Okay.
So it's coming down a little bit. I personally would like to see this at a price point closer to some of the other large premium cases we've seen, like the Cosmos case or
Cosmos
Cooler
2,
Master.
I know. Yeah, that was the Cosmos, and then the Corsair 900D, for example. I think those were all like in the 350 to 360 range.
Yes, and that's kind of where we've seen the ceiling for a lot of premium cases in the past. So This definitely has that premium look and feel, some really unique features. One quick thing I'll point out just while I'm here in the front, the radiator I have mounted here for the CPU and this upper radiator mount, which has 240 millimeter fans out of the box, both come out with just 2 thumb screws. And this is a frame that comes out so you can more easily mount things. So it's just premium touches like that.
So it comes with a lot of more case fans than are seen here, right? Like I'm holding, I've got these 4 here that the case comes with.
6 fans installed.
Okay.
There's still the 2 up top. There are 3 here and 1 in back. So it, you know, a nice collection of fans that it comes with, and they can all be powered through this hub in the back.
Right.
But yeah, it definitely has all the hallmarks of a premium case, and it just needs, I think, to be a little bit less expensive. Bring
down the price some. Like I said, they've already started a rebate. They're including an 850 watt power supply with it.
Right.
That maybe kind of gets you into the realm of being in the right price point if you actually need a power supply, though. That's kind of, you know, every user's going to be a little bit different.
Buyers of this case at this price point might have their own, you know, premium power supply.
Yep.
Wouldn't necessarily want to rely on that, but it's nice that they're throwing it in. It adds about, you know, $70, $80 worth of value to it.
Right. So in terms of performance, Sebastian's going to include that in his full written review, which we'll link in the description of this video as well. And obviously, he'll have a lot more pictures and stuff of just the case itself, as well as our installation process with it. So I, for one, am glad to see Antec kind of make another step in this direction. It's a company that has a fond place in my heart in terms of being in that enthusiast chassis business for as long as I've been doing these types of reviews. So I'm glad to see them kind of jump back into it. Just a couple of minor tweaks with, you know, feeding cables through and lengths and heights, and then obviously the price, and they should be good to go. So make sure you check out the full review over at PCPer.com. Sebastian will have more details there. Thanks everybody for watching.
Thank you.